everybody. You are listening to Radio Unfriendly. I am your host, Steve.
And I am your host, Scott. And this is the music podcast where we bring you music that we think you should be listening to that you are unlikely to find on the radio.
Yes. So this is our third episode. Always, gonna have some fun today. We've got a lot to talk about. So the music you're going to hear you're very unlikely to find on mainstream radio, and we really want you to hear these bands. So this is a good way to get that music out. But today we're going to be talking about music books, books about music or about bands and stuff like that. And then, of course, we've also got some really good music to play. We'll talk a little bit about that. But you and I have had some interesting weekends this past weekend.
Yeah, so this is like a 3-for-1 here, right? They get to hear the music, They get to hear the books or about the books, and then they get to hear about the interesting events going on lately.
Yeah. So what happened? You had the Gambler this weekend, didn't you?
I did, yeah. So I went down to Oregon. I live up in Washington, and Oregon Gambler 500 happened this past weekend. It was located like out of Eastern Oregon, around the Bend area. And Gambler, kind of to back up and give everyone an idea if they've never heard of it, it's a combination of like a navigational rally plus a public lands trash cleanup. So everybody goes with basically a junky Mad Max car, and they try to drive 500 miles off-road on gravel or dirt. The kind of motto of the Gambler is that pavement is lava. And then while they do that, they pick up trash. So I went down with a friend of mine, Brian. We tried to make our way actually down from Washington into Oregon over like Forest Service roads. Kind of not successful at that because we kept hitting like gates and public or private lands. But we eventually wound our way down there, helped clean up, it's called the Crooked River Grasslands outside of Madras, Oregon. And everybody, it was like, a 2,000 people event. So they cleaned up in total. It's still being counted, but 300 cubic yards at least of trash, just old couches, washing machines, even cars and campers off public lands, a lot of tires. So after they filled up like 5 shipping containers full of trash, they were like, oh, that's all we rented. We didn't think you guys would clean up so much. And they started to just let kind of like an impromptu dump happen kind of near the entrance to where everybody's camping. And I got video of that right before we left, and it took me 1 minute and 40 seconds to walk around the huge pile. So it might have been as many cubic yards again as what they filled up initially. But yeah, really, really cool event. On like Saturday night when you're camped, they also run a festival, so I caught a few bands. I caught some, food vendors, just like ogled a bunch of Mad Max looking cars. People have modified cars to the crazy degree sometimes, and sometimes only just a touch of spray paint or something like that. So, I think that about sums it up.
Nice. What bands did you see at these festivals? Anybody?
Yeah, so I didn't catch the name of a couple of the bands I saw, but I saw Shane Brown, who's a singer-songwriter out of Oregon. He's been at a few of those Gamblers. And then they had a metal stage. So I said, let's go check out the metal stage, Brian. We went over and we saw a great band called Within the Pyre. And Brian was like, man, I haven't listened to metal in forever. And then they pulled out this like amazing cover of Rage Against the Machine, Killing in the Name of, and we were both like, oh, we know a song. So it was really fun.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
What were you up to this weekend?
Oh man, my weekend was very eventful. I flew up to Chicago this weekend. I currently live in Oklahoma, just outside Oklahoma City, and there was a band that they're no longer active, They're called the Methadones.
Such a good band,
Um,
man.
yeah, a lot. There's strange how many people have never heard of them, but they're really great, and they're not active. They broke up in like 2010, and I never got to see them play live when they were active. So I heard that I talked to Dan from time to time, um, and he told me that they were playing in Chicago. Uh, you know, June 11th, and I'm like, well, that's great because I'll be in Michigan. I just have to drive down and uh, go see you guys because Chicago's really not that far a drive from uh, where I'll be living in Michigan. For those of you who don't know, I'm about to move to Michigan. Um, I thought I was going to be in Michigan already, but some things happened and I didn't. Like everybody else is already up there
You,
except for me and my son, who is staying here in Oklahoma to go to college. So,
so
yeah,
events transpired, it sounds like.
events transpired, and I did not. I'm not in Michigan, obviously, uh, but I was like, man, I still really want to see that show, and I don't want to because I'd already bought my tickets. I was like, I'm going to be there. I'll buy my ticket, and we'll be good. But I'm not there, and I'm like, oh man, I don't want to waste my. I really want to see them because
Yeah, when
when
are
am
they
I
going
going
to
to get to
play?
when am I going to ever get to see them again? Um, and my wife was like, well, just fly up there. I'm like, oh man, that's an expensive plane ticket just to go see a band. But I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do that. I'm going to do it.
I
So
mean,
I
it's
flew up there.
priceless to have those memories, so
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So I went up there. I went up there early Saturday morning, and so I wandered. I've been to Chicago many times before. My dad actually was born and raised just outside of Chicago, so I spent a lot of summers there. So I know the area pretty well. So I flew in, and then I got on the train, and I just took the train into town, wandered around a little bit. I'm like, you know what? I've never seen the new. It's not new anymore, but I never saw the new White Sox stadium. Um, I've been to the Cubs stadium more times than I care to admit because my dad was a Cubs fan, so we went and saw games there fairly
Yeah.
often. But I never saw the new. So I never saw the new White Sox stadium. So I'm like, you know what? There's a train that goes right by it. So I got on the train again and went to the White Sox stadium and I took some pictures. And there was a lot of people out. And I'm like, wait a minute, is there a game today? Is there seriously a game today? So I checked the schedule and lo and behold, there's a game. So I'm
Oh
like,
man, nice.
man, I don't have anything else to do for a while, so I'll just go watch a game. So I watched the White Sox play, and then they lost, by the way. Uh,
Yeah.
they blew a really good lead
Oh
and
man.
lost. Like they were ahead 5-0, and then it was horrible. But so I actually had to leave early because there was a friend I was going to meet up with, and so I when I left, it was 5-0. But
You were like, they've got
it
this
was
one in the bag. I don't need to be here.
yeah. I was like, ah, this is good because when I left, their designated hitter, I can't remember his first name, but his last name is Berger. Uh,
Cool name.
hit a 2-run home run,
Nice.
and I'm like, okay, this game's over because the other team was just playing badly. I don't know what was going on with them. And they obviously bounced back, but yeah, I left and I thought it was over. So I went and met a friend of mine, and he's actually a cameraman for Channel 5 in Chicago, and he was doing some camera work for the Puerto Rican festival.
Oh
So
wow.
I kind of hung out with him for a little while at the Puerto Rican festival, and that was a lot of fun.
Do you get
It
some
was
good
really
food
cool.
or?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Nice.
It was good stuff. Um, so then it was a couple hours away from the show, so I'm like, yeah, I should probably go ahead and get over there because anyone who knows the local Chicago public transportation system um, knows that the trains are not always on time,
Yeah.
and sometimes you have to wait a while to get a train. That being said, their public transportation system is bar none, probably one of the best in the world. Um, so anyway, so I go to I head out to where the venue is. It's a place called Reggie's. Uh, Never been there before. Great venue. Can't wait to see more shows there. Um, but so I get there and I've got like oh man, I've got like an hour and a half before the show starts. And where Reggie's is, it's actually not very far. It's like within walking distance from Chinatown. So I went into Chinatown and had dinner, and that was really good. And then I went to the show. So uh, the show was amazing. Started off with a band from I want to say they're from Detroit. They're called Haley and the Crushers.
Oh, I love the name already.
Yeah, they're really good. They're really good, and that was a lot of fun. And so they played, and then the second band was ah, I knew I was going to forget this. They're not a
This.
band I've ever heard. Cap Gun Heroes. That's what it was.
Oh, that's a good
Cap Gun
name too.
Heroes. So they were good. I don't know a whole lot about them. Never heard of them before. But they were good. They put on a good show. Um,
So what style of music is Haley and the Crushers?
um, Kind of. They were all kind of in the pop punk vein.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. So let me tell you a little bit about the show. What the show actually was. It wasn't just a methadones reunion. It wasn't just like, let's get together and do a reunion show. They were doing a benefit for diabetes.
Oh, good.
So for a good cause, So
Yeah.
um, yeah. So after Cap Gun Heroes, it was Dan Vapid and the Cheats.
Oh,
So
okay. Yeah, yeah.
so
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 he
we,
played
we so we
both.
got yeah, yeah. And I've actually never seen them either because they don't ever come through Oklahoma. Um, but it was a really good show. I really like Dan Vapid and the Cheats, the band. They've
Yeah,
got
me
some really
too.
good stuff out. They just put an album out last year called Escape Velocity.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I can't remember when last year, but they've got a new album coming out like next month. He was talking about that during their set, and he played a song or two from it. So,
Oh,
but
right
yeah, that was
on. We'll
really
have to
great
put it
set
on the podcast later.
for sure, for sure. Yeah. Um, Next band after that was who the Smoking Popes are, right?
Oh, of course.
Okay, it wasn't the Smoking Popes. It was Josh Caterer. He has a little project called the Josh Caterer Trio. Um, and so it's him playing guitar and singing. I don't know who it was playing bass. Never seen the guy before. But Josh's son was playing drums.
Oh, nice.
Um, so that was a fun set. And then he, like, toward the end of the set, he actually had his daughter come out and do some duets with him.
Wow, man. That
Um,
and he lives in Chicago too, I think, right?
yeah, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
That's so
Um,
cool.
yeah, it was fun. So they were really good. And then after that, of course, we had the Methadones, and they
That's a
were
full bill, man. That's like what, six
it,
bands? Something like
it
that?
was
That's
one,
awesome.
one, two, three, four, yeah, five. So, but yeah, they come out and they were just so amazing. And aside from the fact that, you know, it was the Methadones and they're amazing and the music was amazing, the performance was amazing, it was just everything about it was great. There, there was this really entertaining kind of aside. So I'm like right up front. I'm right on the stage, right up by the stage, and there's these three younger girls just kind of off to the right of me. So it was kind of hard to ignore them.
Yeah.
Or not pay attention to what they were doing, but it was really amusing to watch them. There was this one girl on the end that was just kind of staring at the show the whole time, just like she didn't look like she was into it, but she just kind of looked like she was mesmerized. So okay. It was just like, I was like, okay. So let me point out that all three of these girls, I could be wrong, but they did not look old enough to even remember who the Methadones were back when they were active.
Right.
So it was cool to see that age group at this show, because there were actually a lot of, let's say, older folks like myself. But yeah, okay. So you had her. She just looked like she was mesmerized. Didn't look bored. She was just like, just in the moment. It was weird. And then this other girl was standing next to her. Like, I kept looking over and I was thinking, man, she is really into the show, which was what I thought. I was like, she is really into it. She's just like, her arms going and dancing and really, really into it. And about 4 or 5 songs into it, I realized this girl's plowed.
Oh, no.
She is not into the show. She is just that drunk. just she would have been dancing to anybody, but it was hilarious because she's just plowed.
Oh man, that's a real contrast. You got the starer and then the dancer.
and then you've got the third one who she was into the show and into the music, but the entertaining thing was, if you were like, I don't know, several more feet away from her and watching her, you would have thought, man, she knows the words to every song because her mouth was going with the thing. I'm like, man, this is great. It's amazing that somebody knows the words to all these songs. But once you start, like, if you're as close to her as I was, you start to realize her mouth is just moving up and down.
Oh, weird.
So she's not singing the song. She just wants to make it appear that she's singing the songs.
Oh,
which
no.
is clearly not. It's like, and
what
so
is going on?
Yeah, so it was just really amusing to watch these three, along with like watching the rest of the crowd, like that were actually into this music.
Yeah.
And then just enjoying the music, of course, itself. I mean, it's just like.
Well, it almost sounds like everybody's first show. You go with your 2 friends, and everyone's like acting how they think they should act, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. I gotta say, though, as far as like lifelong concerts go, this is like way up there in the top 10 for me.
That's
amazing.
Be
even top 5. It may be even top 5 because that it was just so great.
Yeah, well, your whole day sounded amazing. This, like, Puerto Rican festival, catching the baseball game, and then cap it off with this. That's so great.
Yeah.
Way to go.
It was so good. I mean, like, just Dan Vapid and the Cheats and the Methadones alone would have made that concert, but everybody else was so good.
Well, man, it was worth the ticket then.
It definitely was. It was worth the plane ticket and the cost of the actual ticket. But, yeah. But, hey, speaking of music, we got some music we need to play.
Yeah, let's get it out there.
Let's talk about it. We got some tunes to go. So this first one is one of them that I chose, and it is called, the name of the song is Patriarchy, from the band Call-In Dead. So let's go ahead and play it, and then we'll talk about it.
He told you, don't fear, don't cry, don't think, be a man, don't fear, roll up, just think, be a man, don't be, no,
right. That was Patriarchy by Call Dead. This band is based out of Orlando, Florida. And this song, Patriarchy, it's just a single that was released back in April. What do you think of this song?
It's I love that it's just fast and furious, and it makes a point, and it just gets in there and then it gets out. And that's funny you mentioned it's from Florida. They've always had a strong hardcore scene, so that makes sense. I didn't know that. Cool.
Yeah, when I first heard the song, I was like, man, this really reminds me of some of the classic hardcore bands from the 80s.
This is kind of like throws back to just like straight ahead. We're going to plow through and hit you with just energy.
Yeah. And the meaning behind the song is, really poignant as well. It's talking about gender normals and so there was I've heard some of their other stuff, and she's a pretty good singer, so we might have to play another one of their songs on a future episode sometime.
Yeah, we should.
But yeah, I heard this one and immediately I was like, man, this has got to be on the show. It's good. So, but this next one is one of them that you chose. So why don't you introduce it for us?
Yeah, the next band is from France, and they just put out an album on Dirty Water Records. It's called The Black Album, and this is, I think it's the second track. The band is Double Cheese, and the song is Pills and Wine.
All right. Pills and Wine by Double Cheese. So you said they're from France.
Yeah, they're from France. I stand corrected. I just looked it up because I wanted to make sure. This is the fourth track on the album. It's called The Black Album.
I was really interested in this song. It was kind of I like the surf vibe that I got from it.
Yeah, it's definitely throwback for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of a mixture between surf punk and maybe garage rock.
Yeah, with that organ in there, it's definitely a garage rock feel for sure.
Yeah.
And just so they don't have, I guess they have an organ on a few of the other songs, but they definitely don't do that exact thing on every song. This one kind of stands out on that one for sure.
Yeah. Very cool stuff.
You can tell they have the garage rock thing because of choosing to call the album the Black Album. I mean, it's a clear reference to that whole thing with like the OCs and all the different other The bands.
Yeah, very good stuff. Very good.
Cool.
Oh, you know what? We were going to talk about music books.
Yes. Okay, cool. Yeah, so this is a book I'm reading right now, and it's called We Never Learned the Gunk Punk Undergut, 1988 to 2001. This is by Eric Davidson, who's the singer of New Bomb Turks. And it's actually originally was released back in 2011, but they just put out an expanded edition. So the expanded edition, basically what's cool about it, it's out like in the last couple months here, is that they give you a 20-song download when you buy the book. And it's got a lot more pictures in it. So they kind of like paid the money to get the pictures in. And there's like a center section that's actually glossy color pictures of all of these gunk punk. It's something he made up, but it's basically about all the dirty trash punk bands. So you're talking bands from the 90s, like the Gories and the Dwarves and the Super Suckers. It talks about bands like Supercharger, the Oblivions, Mummies, New Bomb Turks, of course. If anybody is familiar with this scene, it's kind of that whole like Estrus Records, Crypt Records, stuff. Some of it's in the 80s, but it kind of like focuses more on the 90s. And I'm about maybe halfway through at this point.
Cool.
And some of the bands I knew, other ones, not at all. So like, it's basically kind of like this really wide-ranging stream of consciousness, retrospective, because he played with all these bands as the New Bomb Turks were touring throughout the years. And so he's just talking about like all the different bands, what he liked about each one, what tracks you should check out, what they were like live. And it shows a lot of show posters, lots of like pop art, kind of that Rat Fink style of art. Pretty much kind of defined this whole genre. So I didn't know a lot about that genre, and being a fan of punk, when you think of the 90s, you always think of like NoFX or Bad Religion. So this is a really good pick if you want to hear about something else about the 90s.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So the book that I'm currently reading, it was kind of recommended by a friend. I knew about the book, but we were having a discussion about music books, and he recommended my friend Dave. You know him, Dave Brown.
Yeah, and he's a librarian too, so he knows what books are good.
Yeah, he is. He's a librarian. He's great. Yeah, he's got a podcast called One Band, Five Songs. If you've never checked that out, that's definitely worth checking. Yeah. We're going to try to get him on a future show to talk about his podcast.
Oh, cool.
We just got to get the scheduling down. But the book that he recommended that I started reading is called Corporate Rock Sucks, The Rise and Fall of SST Records.
Awesome title.
Yeah. So SST has a very interesting history. Of course, SST Records is the record label that originally started by Greg Ginn, mostly just to put out his band's records, Black Flag. Mm-hmm. But then it kind of morphed into, there's so many bands, at the time were obscure, but became huge, like the Minutemen started on SST. Sonic Youth started on SST. Bad Brains. Meat Puppets. Husker Du. So
you had a really good year for bands. It's really cool.
So it's written by Jim Ruland, but I'm about a quarter of the way through it, and it's good. I enjoy it, but I will have to say that up till now it seems more like a history of Black Flag than A History of SST Records. Now, it has mentioned some of these other bands in it so far, but, currently where I'm at right now, it doesn't really seem like they're focusing on SST Records. It's more Black Flag.
Yeah, maybe
still,
it transitions at some point, huh?
That's what I'm thinking. Because I've still got, like I said, I've got a lot left. But yeah, so that's what I'm reading right now. We've got some more books to talk about, but let's jump back into some music.
Let's
How
do
about
it.
that?
Yeah.
Okay, so this song is one of them I chose, and it's called Divided, and it is by Paperback Tragedy. Right. That was Divided by Paperback Tragedy. Those guys are from Baltimore, Maryland. They just released an album called Three She back on June 3rd via Allegedly Records, and this song comes from that album. What do you think
So
of
this
that
is
one?
new.
Yeah.
Yeah,
really
yeah.
new.
I've got a lot of nice things to say about that one. The opening is really cool, and they kind of lean into that like stuttering, like theme throughout. So I'm really liking that kind of angular guitar work. The bridge though, when it comes down, it takes it all down to just the voice and guitars it's about at 2 minute mark. So good, and then it goes to that like driving halftime, which is a huge contrast with like all the stuff before. So to me, it was like I was like, all right, this is pretty good, and then that bridge hit, and I was like, oh, now that's how you do, I think, a bridge, and then take the song home. Like I feel like they wrote that well. That was very cool to hear.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the bridge, like you were saying, is really where this band kind of makes its mark with this song. So they have this album is on. Okay, yeah, it is on their Bandcamp page, so you can listen to it and buy it there. I want to say that it was also on the Allegedly Records Bandcamp, but I could be wrong about that one. But yeah, really fun stuff. Good band. Definitely worth checking out. And really, I mean, as far as like Allegedly Records goes, they have a lot of really good stuff. So it's kind of worth your time to just check out all of the artists that are on that label.
So the next song here is something I discovered by kind of following the lo-fi punk, I think it is, tag on Bandcamp. I keep an eye over there because I'm just into stuff like this. So this is going to be like almost an opposite song from that Paperback Tragedy song. This one's recorded in a bedroom, low production quality, but I think it really makes the song really cool. So this is TV Repairman with a song called Patterns. Yeah, and that was Patterns by TV Repairman. I really like that song. So curious to hear what your impression of it is.
A lot like you, I tend to enjoy a lot of lo-fi type stuff when I get a chance to hear it. So definitely these guys, I was checking out their Bandcamp. They're from Australia, I think.
Yeah, I think it says tagged with Sydney, so it's something to do with Sydney, Australia, probably.
Yeah. So the lo-fi aspect was really enjoyable. I got to tell you, the thing about the song that really stood out to me the most, I remember we kind of mentioned organs with that Double Cheese song. But there was some kind of organ thing going on with this song too. It was kind of in the background. It wasn't distracting. But I thought it was a nice touch and added a cool little like enhancement to the song.
Yeah, I thought that too. Like a lot of lo-fi recorded stuff, it's just kind of like, oh, it's loud and fuzzy. This has that like melodic, whether it's a synth or organ in there, which is cool.
Yeah, it wasn't overly lo-fi. It was just enough that Yeah, it was really good. I really liked it, and the I'm probably gonna buy the Patterns EP.
Yeah, they're so for anyone listening, they're on Bandcamp. It's called TEV Repairman. However, it's spelled kind of funny. Check our show notes on the website. It's TEE-VEE Repairman.
Yeah,
So that's one thing that's hard to convey over audio.
yeah, that's true. But yeah, definitely a band worth keeping your eye out if you're into that lo-fi fuzzy type thing. But even if you're not, I don't think this would. It's lo-fi, but it's not. It's not enough to put you off, to turn you off if you're not into the lo-fi kind of thing.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty listenable. So.
Yeah. All right.
Tell us more about books that you've read. For I hear you have a couple more.
Yeah, I've got a couple. Since I was already on the subject of SST and Black Flag, I've got basically 4 books to talk about, and I'll talk about
Sweet.
2 of them here before our next music that we're going to play, and then I'll talk about the other 2 later. But these 2 are kind of connected somewhat because they're both about Black Flag. The first one is called Spray Paint the Walls. Spray Paint the Walls, The Story of Black Flag. It is written by a guy named, well, you know what? I say it's a guy. It could be a girl. Stevie Chick.
Cool.
I'm going to assume.
I love the title. Like, if you're gonna write a book about Black Flag, spray paint the walls. Perfect.
Yeah.
Pick a good lyric and
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's a good, if you like to read history books about music and bands, this is a really good one. It's a good kind of more objective view of the band. Just kind of talking about their formation and like their influence in American hardcore, and just kind of a very good comprehensive story about the band from beginning to end. Whereas the other book, not as comprehensive and probably, well, I say probably, but absolutely not as objective.
Mm-hmm.
And it is called Get in the Van, On the Road with Black Flag. And this is written by Henry Rollins. So it it's from his perspective, so it's very, I'll go ahead and use the word biased, because it is kind of a biased view of the band from their, dare I say, most popular singer.
And that's not surprising, right? Because it's Henry Rollins. He's not gonna not give you his opinion.
Right. And,
Right.
and it is a really good book. I actually, I did read this book. When did I read this? I actually read it like back in, probably like 2011, maybe a little earlier than that. But I actually listened to the audiobook first, and the audiobook is actually done by Henry Rollins himself. And I want to say this was published like 2004-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, you know what? No, it was way earlier than that, because I listened to the audiobook way earlier than that. Let me do some quick, because the Goodreads article, I spent a lot of time on Goodreads, says that it was published 2004, but that sounds way newer than this book actually is. Maybe it's this edition that was... Okay, it was originally published in 1994. That makes more sense.
Yeah.
So I listened to it way back then, when Henry Rollins did it, and it's a good read and a good listen. If you're at all interested in Black Flag, you want to try to get all perspectives of the band, and like back in the day, like when I first started playing music and getting into music, Black Flag was one of my favorite bands. So I I absorbed a lot of information about them.
Awesome.
But yeah, so Greg Ginn was a big influence to me initially as a guitar player, just because I liked what he was doing and I liked his sound and whatnot. And he's so yeah. I mean, if you're a fan of Black Flag at all, both of these books are definitely worth checking out. And the other book, the SST biography, I guess you want to call it, is also a good one. All right, well let's get back into some music. I think we got a couple more songs to go.
Let's do it.
So this song is from a duo called. They are Steve and Jenny Jackson. I'm gonna assume they're husband and wife, but I probably shouldn't assume. And this song is called Tear My Voice.
Sick and tired of all the pain, feeling like a ghost again. You think the storm will keep you calm, but as you're up all night with your eyes open wide, up all night, alone and terrified, wondering if you're gonna make it out. Da-dum, 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 da-dum. In the night you can never sleep. Too many monsters in your dreams, trying to make it out alright. As you're wandering in the streets, looking to find to me, wandering in the streets, a feeling colder than the sea. Are you really just trying to be free? Da-dum, 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 da-dum. And when the night falls, I'll drink another round, raise my voice and tear it up till my body hits the ground. And when the night falls, I'll drink another round, raise my voice and tear it up till my body hits the ground, till my body hits the ground, till my body hits the ground. That's the one thing that I know. As you hide inside your mind, you leave your life behind. Hide inside your mind, another roller coaster ride. No matter what, just tell me you can stay. Da-dum, 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 da-dum. And when the night falls, I'll drink another round, raise my voice and tear it up till my body hits the ground. And when the night falls, I'll drink another round, raise my voice and tear it up till my body hits the ground, till my body hits the ground.
Okay, so we just listened to Tear My Voice by a Montreal, Canada-based duo, Steve and Jenny Jackson. This comes from an album called Colder Than the Sea that was released on May 26th through Thousand Island Records.
It's so funny. I have this thing where, like, somehow I never listened to like folk punk or acoustic folk or but and then when I hear it, I'm just like, why don't I listen to this genre more? Like, so when I heard this, this is obviously a hugely sad song. You're just listening to it with your kind of your heart in the sea, and I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't surprise me the album is called Colder Than the Sea. But I was just listening to the execution, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful song. Just everything about it. There's violin throughout, and in a nice way, like really nice touches, and then all of the harmonies in there, really well done. I was just like, the song knocked my socks off on multiple levels. That's basically how I felt about it.
Yeah,
I assume that's what led you to pick it too.
yeah. I actually got this song sent to me through a PR company that I actually get a lot of music ideas from. But yeah, this one kind of jumped out. I mean, I get a lot of stuff where I'm just like, yeah, no, no thanks.
Yeah.
But this one like really jumped out at me. I don't listen to as much folk punk as I would like, because I do like the genre. But so this one definitely, fits that bill, and is really good. So this is like I said, this is a duo. Of this duo, one of them plays a guitar, and the other one plays a mandolin.
Oh, I wonder if like what I thought was violin is mandolin in there. Just do they bow it? Do you know?
I don't know.
Because there's definitely some like stretched out strings in here
Yeah,
that I don't think you could do with the fingers.
yeah, when you mentioned violin, I was like, you know what? They probably did add some violin in this. If there's I'll have to do some looking around and see if I can find a video.
Yeah,
of
whatever
them.
it is, it sounds good.
Yeah, if I can find a video of them,
Yeah.
I'm sure there's one out there somewhere. And then see if they're playing a violin on that one. But this band is like I said, they're based out of Montreal, Canada. They started in 2017, and they have played a ton of shows. They've played. You know who Joey Cape is, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so they've done shows with him. and-
Lagwagon.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of bands that they've played with. They're kind of the thing about this band is they're not. I wouldn't really say they're your typical folk punk because there's a lot of other influences going on here. In addition to the folk punk sound, there's also like some bluegrass going on there.
Yeah.
And then
That's good. Yeah.
yeah, and then some like I guess you just call it like traditional Irish.
I was gonna say that too. I picked up on that too, particularly in the intro. I think.
Yeah, really good stuff. Well, let's go ahead and why don't you go ahead and introduce the next song, and then we'll talk about that.
Yeah, well, so this is the last song for this episode. Probably the most manic of all the ones we've played. And it's by another Australian band, I think also out of Sydney. But the song is called Where's My Share by the band Billiam. Check it out. Okay, that was Billiam with Where's My Share, out of Sydney. Another lo-fi production here, but a lot of energy on tap there.
I noticed that this was lo-fi. And another thing that kind of stood out to me, I don't know if there was something going on with the speakers on my Mac, but it kind of sounded like it was recorded in mono.
Oh, I should check it out. It totally could have been.
There's really not
That's
enough
awesome.
stuff these days recorded in mono. You would think that it's not listenable or that it's not interesting to listen to, but listening to stuff in mono is actually, at least to me, is a lot more interesting than you'd think it should be.
I should do it more then.
Yeah. But yeah, it's really great. It was a really short song. Kind of adds to the charm of it. Say what you got to say and be done with it.
Yeah, I kind of like that one.
Yeah.
Another thing, so people should know. So this particular artist, I've kind of been listening to some of his stuff recently, and he's just super prolific. So I think it's a one-man band kind of thing. He records everything himself,
Yeah.
So he's just able to just kind of like put out all these records on Bandcamp. This one is actually off of a new EP that's not released yet. It's going to come out on June 24th, and it's called Turrets Over Craigieburn. I'm not sure what that means or refers to. It might be an Australian idiom for all I know, but yeah, Turrets Over Craigieburn.
Interesting.
You can go preview it on Bandcamp right now. So.
Very interesting name. I liked it. Very cool. Well, let's close things out. I've got a couple more books to talk about. The first one I'm going to talk about is a book written by Michael Azerrad, and it is called Our Band Could Be Your Life, Scenes from the American Indie Underground, 1981 to 1991. That's a mouthful. I just call it Our Band Could Be Your Life. And this is essentially like an anthology book in that it has, like, each chapter is kind of a very brief, but not terribly brief, biography of various bands. Some of the bands that that have a chapter devoted to them are the Butthole Surfers, the aforementioned Black Flag, Sonic Youth, Big Black, The Replacements, Dinosaur Jr., Minor Threat, Fugazi, Mudhoney, and there's a lot more. Really great book. If you're into indie rock or punk rock, indie punk, anything like that, this is definitely a book that you want to, if not have on your library, at least in your reading list.
Yeah, so I didn't know you were going to talk about this one, but yeah, I've read this one. I read it quite a while ago, so I don't remember when it came out. But it's certainly, especially if you are already into music, this is an awesome read. If you are a musician, it's a really good read. I would recommend it to anyone.
Oh, yeah.
Who is a musician for sure. I loved reading this and hearing about all the, life on tour and etc.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun.
Really good. Like, it gets really personal with some of the bands, and it's just a story of, like, a decade of really great music.
Yeah. And so all the bands that this book covers are still pretty well known in underground circles, but they're still pretty undiscovered in general. Like,
right.
We're talking about like Beat Happening and Big Black, like great bands.
Yeah.
Definitely still need, a new generation to discover.
Mission of Burma was another one.
I love Mission of Burma, man. It's so good.
So this book was originally published in December 2001.
Okay, that fits with when I remember reading it, because I probably read it around 2003.
Yeah, and it's got subsequent editions. I think the newest one is probably just a few years after that. But check out your local library and see if they have it. And then I'm also a proponent of digital reading because all I have to do is download it on my iPad and listen to it wherever I'm at.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
then there's library apps out there like Libby and Hulu that will connect to your library, and you can read this stuff for free. And it's definitely worth checking out if you like to read. The last book that I wanted to mention, other than that SST book that I mentioned, this is the most recent music book, a book about music that I have read. It was published August of 2020. So it was co-written by Jim Ruland and the band that it's about, and the book is "Do What You Want: The Story of Bad Religion."
Another lyrical title.
Yeah, and I mean, if anybody out there, if you know me, you know that Bad Religion is one of my favorite bands, probably top 3. So when this came out, I listened to the audiobook because it was there was a lot of I don't remember who did the audio book. It may have actually been.
I want it to be Greg Gaffin, man. I just like hearing him speak.
That would have been cool. But this was an amazing book about a band that just they're amazing. They're great. They're Southern California melodic hardcore, and
there's only one bad album when they mistakenly tried to do like a synth rock thing.
Yeah. We can just not talk about that album.
So that should just be omitted from history.
From their history, yeah. But aside from that, this band is just everything they do is gold. And to hear the story about how they got together and the whole process to where they are now. I mean, you can read a Wikipedia article about it, but the way it's described, it's just a really great read. They went from, playing around in a garage in Southern California, and now they're playing, music festivals all over the world. Just an amazing band, and this was a great book. And probably, I mean, as far as music books go, this is probably one of, if not my favorite book. Speaking of Bad Religion and festivals, they're going to be playing Riot Fest this year.
No way.
Among, many other bands. So
they just announced that lineup, huh? I suppose we could have done some news.
Well, I'll tell you a little bit about the lineup here. I'm actually going to go. But I'm just going to go for Friday and Saturday. So the headliner for Friday is My Chemical Romance, which I don't really care about, to be honest.
I mean, they're all right. Yeah.
But my youngest daughter likes them, and that is kind of the reason that I'm going to begin with. Just so they can see this band. But there's actually a lot of other cool bands. Some of them that I'm looking forward to seeing on Friday are Alkaline Trio, Descendants, who I've seen before, but always good to see them again. The Wonder Years, Lagwagon, who I've never seen before. Sincere Engineer is a good band. They're from Chicago. And then Saturday night, the headlining act is the original Misfits. They're designating themselves the original Misfits because it is Glenn, Doyle, and Jerry, and I don't know who they've got playing drums. So that might be interesting. But there are also other cool bands playing that day. You've got Bauhaus is playing.
Right on.
Sunny Day Real Estate.
Yeah.
Bad
good
Religion,
band.
as I mentioned before. The Menzingers. 7 Seconds.
Oh, whoa, wait, 7 Seconds is on this bill?
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Fear.
Fear?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's a curveball.
Yeah. War on Women, a good band to check out. And there's
I had no idea Fear played at all anymore.
yeah, there's some other bands playing. If you want to see the full lineup, it's just riotfest.org. Sunday, I'm actually not gonna stay for Sunday because there's a couple of bands that I'd be like, I'd probably go see them, but I don't want to. I don't know. I don't really want to stick around for 3 days for the third day.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Like-
I mean, even 2 days is a
Yeah,
lot.
like the headlining act that day on Sunday is Nine Inch Nails, and I'm not a huge Nine Inch Nails fan. I mean, there's a few bands that I'd probably, if it was.
I think I saw Jawbox on
Yeah,
there.
Jawbox is going to
that'd
be
cool.
there. Sleater Kinney's going
Less
to be
Than
on there.
Jake.
Less Than Jake, Lunachicks. The Linda
But
Lindas.
I've seen Less Than Jake already, so...
Yeah, the Linda
yeah.
Lindas, the Bomb Pops. They tour a lot, though, so I don't think this is going to be the last time we ever see them.
Yeah.
The Juliana Theory, that might be interesting to see. But
Oh, really? That band is around still? Or
they kind of
that's
reunited about a
interesting.
year or two ago.
Okay.
Mostly, from what I've been able to tell so far, it's mostly like a nostalgia act, just playing their old stuff.
When what I remember, so I've seen the Juliana Theory, and if it's the band I'm thinking of, there is a lot of delay pedal being used.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's not a bad thing, but that's what I remember. That was my impression. Is like, oh, these guys really, they must have like 20 delay pedals on here.
So that's actually it for us tonight on this episode. We've got
Tons of good bands, tons of good books here. Now I've got like a full stacked reading list
Exactly.
and playlist I need to go listen to.
yeah, for sure. But yeah, so thanks everybody who listens to this episode, and I did want to also let you know that we just started being a featured podcast on The Bad Copy, which is a, interestingly enough, Chicago-based internet music zine, and we're really proud to be kind of featured on that. So go check out thebadcopy.com. That's all I've got. You got anything you want to close us out with there, Scott?
I just want to mention, if you want to hear more from us, we are at radiounfriendly.com, and we're on Twitter. Is Twitter Punk Rock Podcast, right?
Yeah, I'll have all the links down in the show notes.
Perfect. So okay, yeah. So come and talk to us. We're out there.
Yep. Have a good one, and catch us on the next episode of Radio Unfriendly.